While there's a huge focus on the New York City mayor's race, residents are also voting for their city council representatives. Now, all 51 seats are up for grabs. Winners will have the power to introduce and vote on bills, monitor city agencies, and override the mayor's vetoes. So how important are these races, and what impact could the outcomes have on how the new mayor runs the city? Joining us now is political strategist and attorney Gerard Filitti. He's senior counsel at the Lawfare Project. Gerard, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Now, currently, the New York City Council has 45 Democrats and 6 Republicans. So first off, how important are these city council races for any political party?
These city council races are really crucial in New York City. While all of the attention has gone to the candidates running for mayor, at the end of the day, New York City's budget and priorities are really set by the city council. Like Congress, they have the power of the purse. They appropriate funding. They raise or lower taxes. They prioritize which departments and programs get budgets and how they're effectively prioritizing what is going on in New York City. They also hold vetoes. They can override a mayoral veto, especially when you have 46 Democrats. The real distinction isn't between Republican and Democrat, but whether you have more moderate members of the city council versus more progressive ones.
So far, with the current city council, what kinds of policies have they pushed during Mayor Adams' tenure?
Well, the policies have really been center left. It's not been policy so much as it has been initiatives with the police department. They've not increased funding significantly. They've put money in schools, but those have gone more towards diversity programs rather than core educational programs. You've seen an increase in spending on public arts activities, beautifying the city, so to speak, programs that benefit or work with NGOs, with non-government organizations. So this has really been the alignment of the city. Right now, the city council has 6 Republicans, but of the Democrats, about 20 of those lean progressive, and their policies are more left of center than the moderate Democrats, which are somewhat more aligned with the Republicans.
Now, the council also has tremendous influence over how New Yorkers may vote in this mayor's race. So over 20 council members, as you just mentioned, have endorsed Zohran Mamdani, which is more progressive. And just 1 has endorsed Andrew Cuomo, and the 6 Republicans have endorsed Curtis Sliwa. Now, Cuomo is technically still a Democrat. So how likely is it that those other 20 or so moderate council members would actually rally votes for him?
It's possible that they will, and we've seen a lot of city council members out at rallies encouraging people to vote. Many of them have made their voting preferences clear in a private setting, not so much public. I think there is a bit of trepidation on the relationships that the city council may have with the mayor if it is Mamdani that ultimately wins on Tuesday. So you're not seeing a rush of council members going to endorse Cuomo. The Republicans have endorsed Sliwa, but many Republicans in New York City are actually not voting for the Republican candidate. They think that Cuomo has a better chance of defeating Mamdani, and they're quite scared of the outcome of New York City swinging more into the Democrat socialist category.
Now, you mentioned a little earlier about, the control and power council has over things like influencing and improving the legislation. They can propose and vote on bills, and even the mayor, they can veto the bill. They can get a 2/3 majority and override that veto. So we saw this happening under Mayor Adams. But in a deep blue city like New York, could we still expect to see more Republicans winning seats for a more balanced council?
It's always possible. There are, of this election, there are 4 seats out of these 51 that are a little bit more competitive, where we can see Republicans potentially gain 1 of 2 open seats, and if not more. So there is the possibility that when we do the counting after this election, we will have slightly more, maybe 7 or 8 Republican seats. But we have to remember, New York City is heavily Democratic. The proportion of seats actually corresponds pretty closely to voter registration within the city overall, and absent redistricting, it's difficult for Republicans to get beyond that 10-seat threshold. So we really do have a distinction in New York City that's not so much along party lines, but along extremes of the spectrum, whether it's progressive or conservative, with most council members, even the Republican ones, falling somewhat to the middle.
Now, Mamdani doesn't have majority support from city council, and he's consistently polling at about 45% in this general election. So if he wins without even a simple majority, how difficult could it be for him to advance his policies?
It may be difficult, but it would require a lot of unity, not just among Republicans, but among the more conservative or moderate Democrats within the city council. Right now, there are probably a good enough number of Democrats who are more on the progressive side and have even endorsed Mamdani, that Mamdani may be able to veto what city council does, and the city council may not be able to override it. So this really comes down to priorities. Mamdani will have his job cut out for him to convince more moderate-leaning Democrats to approve of his priorities and to not second-guess his choices. So this is really a challenge. It depends on whether he keeps true to what he has said he's doing during this campaign, which is more radical than most city council members prefer, or whether he builds bridges with the more conservative and moderate Democrats.
Now, let's talk about Curtis Sliwa. He's at the top of the ticket for Republicans. Could a growing push not to vote for him lead to even fewer people voting for Republican candidates in this city council race?
It's possible, but not likely. I think that Republicans are well motivated to vote at the city council level. Looking at New York City historically, there's always been a good push by city council candidates to do the canvassing, to do the door knocking, to get people out to the ballots, whether it's early voting that started last week or whether it's on election day. So that sometimes is at odds with the mayoral race, where people may be undecided or not even cast a vote for mayor. I think that Republican candidates and Democrat ones, for that matter, have been very effective at getting out the vote in their districts for themselves as candidates. So I don't see a carryover effect. However, I do think that there will be a split vote by a lot of Republicans who will be voting for their Republican council member, but will be voting for Cuomo for mayor.
And lastly, do you think Americans today are putting enough emphasis on these local races, which appear to be very important?
Well, I think these local races do play a very important part in setting priorities for the city. And both parties have been prioritizing them increasingly. But what's interesting in New York City is that it's the more radical wing of the Democratic Party that's really played a close attention to these local council races and really invested time, money, and efforts into getting those seats away from more moderate Democrats. So I think it's time that both the Republican and Democrat parties start to realize the importance of these local races. Otherwise, they're risking having a balance shift more to the socialist side, to the progressive side, which is uncomfortable for both most Democrats and the Republican Party.
Now, regardless of which one of these candidates wins the mayoral race, I think they're going to face a tough city council in getting all of their policies passed. Gerard Filitti, attorney and political strategist, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.